year to present the Homebrew panel, something I'm passionate about, but don't have enough time to ever do myself.
Give it up for Jillian.
I live vicariously through these fine people.
Yes.
Harassing and encouraging people to bring flippin' games every year.
That's right.
That's
right.
Or unflipping games. And this year we've got a couple really special ones that we're going to talk about tonight. So let's get started. Let's talk about the format and why we're here. We want to showcase these homebrew games. My mic's a little tinny. If you could turn it down, please. Want to showcase these homebrew games that are here at Pintastic. We're going to give priority to the people who have brought games for the first time or people who have brought their first game. So people like Lynn, which I do have a slide in here for Lynn, who has 4 of his own games and a new one every year. But we've heard Lynn talk enough. So if you want to talk to Lynn, you should convince him to do his own seminar, and you should find him in there.
Yeah.
Do it.
It's got to happen.
Do it.
Where is it?
What?
I want to. Where is it?
We'll cut it short. Len, get up here.
I'm gonna make that happen.
Why not?
So really, this is about sharing successes and corporate speak lesson learns, which means all the great failures we're going to hear about, which is what actually makes this really interesting. Because everyone here is really candid about how much they screw up, how much they do wrong, and how much pain goes through trying to fix those things and sharing those for people so that they don't have to do the same things. We're going to try to keep it for each pin, for each person, to the who, what, when, where, why, how of why you would build your own machine instead of just buying it, because it's twice as expensive to do it this way.
It is.
It is. And then we're going to give some time at the end to ask questions, share feedback, and have a conversation. We're going to try to stay on time. As I do run the programming in this room, I'm going to throw you all out right at the end, and I want you all to go over to the homebrew room and see these pins with these people so that we can flip this room over for the next thing. Thank you. So we're going to talk about Warhammer first. And so Warhammer was here 6 months ago. Has it been 8 months? How long is it? Seven, 8 months? Okay, last show. Fine. And it was the first showing you had of this, Aaron. So you want to talk about what you did since then?
The soft launch?
Yeah.
My soft launch
Yeah.
of 6 months ago? Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, where do you want me to start?
Where would you like to start?
Right
Go ahead.
there. Why, when? I guess this game's at like officially 1 year. It's like I started 4 months before Pintastic, and I started with basically nothing. I bought stuff from Fast, wired everything together, and then said, expletives. I have to build a cabinet now. And so I just started picking up stuff and cutting things and assembling a cabinet, and I got it to the first show, and it flipped, and it didn't have much to it, but it did flip. And so now, a year, or like 7 months later, I'm here, again, showing it off, and the improvements that I've made so far. I've changed a lot of stuff around, been in pain for certain times, and I'm happy with the improvements that have been made with the time I've had.
All right, so let's just go over the quick stuff. We've already done this with you before, but what's the platform? What are you coding on?
Okay, so the hardware is Fast Pinball. The code is Mission Pinball Framework.
Okay,
and
so
use those two together.
I might as well just go down the list with everybody else
Might
while
as
we're
well.
doing this right now.
Yeah, so I'm Cobra Pin with Mission Pinball Framework as well.
Fast pinball with Unity.
Yeah, and so I have 2 games. One of them is a P3 platform. The other one is Fast, but they're both using Mission Pinball Framework.
So MPF across the board, with the exclusion of Unity.
Unity.
And Unity.
And
Yeah. Linball? I don't know. Is it?
Limbo.
patent pending. So since the last time you were here, any major accomplishments in the last 7 months?
Yes. So stability, like we've got code. I've got a multi-ball in. I've got some light shows. I've got a little bit of rules. It's 3 flipper now, so that was definitely an improvement.
That's a big change.
Yeah, there's you find certain things that you don't really like, and you say, I want to make this more fun. Maybe I can make this a little more shooty or interactive with the player. And so I said, yeah, I can go 3 flipper here, and shoved a flipper in it. It only took me a little bit of time, but cutting and drilling, and you get it done.
And at the end, we're going to come back and talk to everybody about feedback that you got from the last show, feedback you've gotten on this show,
Yes.
and things like that. Poor Mike, this is torture for you. I'm loving this. So let's move on to Borderlands, which is. I just have to say that I'm sorry I didn't put your name on the slide, Brian. Brian was here sitting over there last year when I called him out and when you will have a flipping pin here for next show, and here you are. We've corresponded back and forth a bunch. I've seen pictures and video of this. It didn't do it justice.
Nothing gets things done like a deadline and being pressured into doing something. So
This is true.
So if you want
Very
to go to
true.
game, just have Jillian tell you that you have to have it here, and that's the expectation. And it will be.
That happened to 2 people.
That's it. That's something.
So-
one of those words.
I'm a glutton for punishment, so I've been working like crazy on this thing, trying to get everything up to the vision I have in my head, getting it into reality. This game started a little over 2 years ago at the last show in Charlton. The concept sort of came around there. It started a little bit before that, but the premise of the whole game, which is a feature that's actually not working because it got damaged in transit, but this system has a fully articulated controlled playfield. And so this was a concept I had 2 years ago, that what if I could control the playfield and make it steeper, make it lean, make it do all sorts of stuff. You can pick up the controller and you can play it like the game Labyrinth. So we built the control system. We got it with RC prototypes, motor drives. Just had literally a piece of cardboard on a piece of plywood. It was the day after the Charlton show. We went to the hardware store. I happened to have some linear actuators kicking around my basement because I work on robots. And we just slapped it together. I'm like, well, yeah, I can put a ball in the center of that, and I can move it around with a joystick. So, let's go. So the last 2 years have been getting that system functioning. A friend of mine did a ton of work. That whole system's running on an Arduino stack. He showed up with in a Christmas box, and he's like, "Here you go. Here's your stack. It's fully functioning. All the code works. I put it in Mission Pinball Framework for you. Load this file, and let's go have some fun." And so he did like 150 hours of work because he was out of work at the time and bored. So yeah, that dropped it, and that really lit a fire because I knew I had to come, and I had a fully functioning control system until yesterday at 4 o'clock. And so the game was designed around that. And so there's lots of fun modes where you go and you're helping a bartender find her ingredients, and every time you bring her something, she gives you a beer. And then the playfield starts to wobble around a little bit. And the more times you do that mode, the more the playfield wobbles until it's pretty unshootable if you get to the final mode. But it's possible. So that was the premise of the whole game. It's here, it's flipping, it doesn't move, unfortunately. We were going to get parts here for tomorrow, but they're out of stock, it turns out. So it'll be working at the next pinball show, and we will take the playfield out of the cabinet before it gets transported next time.
What do we have to do to make this happen? Who do I have to call?
I did a lot of work already. We can try. I think the potentiometers in the linear actuators got jacked up on the drive here. So we might take it. It's flipping. We'll all go play it for a while afterwards. And then if it gets quiet, I might rip it apart and see what we can do. But
We have a box of toys to go over at the end.
Yeah, so
we'll pull those out.
So I'm a mechanical engineer by trade. I have been doing CAD for a long time. So everything here in the game I built myself. Everything on the top surface is custom designed. There's a whole CAD file that I have for everything. So I ordered my CNC playfield, and things just showed up, and they just dropped on and screwed down. And it was like, oh, it's so nice. My friends were helping me, and they're like, so how many of these screws you think are in the wrong spot? I was like, let's go with 4. That's my over-under, and they all bet against me, and there were 0 wrong screws.
Whoa! Nice.
There were some that were missing because they didn't. I had to wait 3 weeks for the thing to show up, so there was time in between. More stuff got built.
Yeah.
So it was so satisfying going from my first prototype whitewood that was all handmade with routers and skill saws and Dremels and fighting everything to get right, and then just having this one. It was while the thing was being built, or the cut rather, all the parts got 3D printed, and it just in an hour it was just whoosh, it came online. It was so satisfying. So there's definitely something to be said about get your game flipping, do your prototype. Learn what you need to learn. I couldn't have done it without it because I learned so much about the shots. You're not going to know this stuff building it. But then the satisfaction of having it just go together and be right, aside from the upper pop bumper maybe. Yeah, it was fun to have that come in, and that was like a month ago that playfield showed up. So It's been fun to work on.
I think the moment I had yesterday, or Wednesday, I don't remember what day it was. These days drift together here.
Yes.
We were sitting there, and I'm like, I don't think you realize what you actually built. You built something that I've been trying to build for a while. I want a self-leveling, self-pitching pinball, right? I want to make sure that every time I press that start button, that everybody has the exact same experience. And with 3 linear actuators under a playfield, where you're already indexing and leveling, this can be perfectly leveled and pitched at all times.
Yeah, so
And so everyone in here needs to throw this man $10 so that he can patent this, so that somebody else won't steal this idea and do it incorrectly. Because you need to protect this. You did something really, really interesting and fun, and it's really neat. And this level of innovation isn't happening in all the manufacturers. I mean, they don't have the opportunity to work on small, single one-of prototypes and to see the feasibility. And you did, and it's sorry that it's broken here and we don't get to see it, but this is really impressive.
I'm beyond like grief and like sort of an acceptance / sadness mode right now. So like the game flips, we can have fun. It is what it is. Next time it will be working better. But yeah, the control system was sort of the beast that we wanted to take on with this, right? And there's like weird stuff like when I lean the playfield 15 degrees to the right and then up, like, 3 days ago I learned that my apron was gonna blow right through the glass. So we had to bring up the kinematics and like change the envelope. So like the game knows where the playfield is. It's like, well, we should probably make it not do that before the show. So that got fixed. And it's a matter of like, when you're leaning far to the right, there's a hole now between the playfield and the cabinet, and you can have a ball go down that hole. And so how do you put walls up knowing that when you lean the game, you're going to smash it into your cabinet wall? And like, how do you lay out the game so that like there's drop targets on the wings, and I couldn't put them on the wings because I'd smash into the wall. So there's actually the drop targets moved over, and there's a flag with a jog in it so that I could get the thing to be in an out lane even though it's not under the out lane. So there was a lot of thought that had to go into the layout and where things live so that when this thing does start to not be a normal pinball machine anymore, it doesn't just like fall to pieces.
And I just want to call attention to, like, my pointer's there, the little Borderlands pinball puck, if you will.
Soap bar, yeah. So that's the controller. So when you shoot the claptrap shot in the back, there's a video mode that comes up from Borderlands 2 is a video game, so there's tons of assets on there. That was one of the realizations that, like, this is a good theme to do because the fan support for this game is ridiculous. I was able to find so many assets to pull and use for the game. It's sort of crazy. But when you shoot that shot, you have to go hand out invitations for his birthday party, and you do so by picking up the controller and actually tilting the game around to get the ball to go into those shots. So there's actually a shot in the out lane in a little hidden hole that you have to navigate either down through your shield or up through your flippers to find that little hole. And you can only do it because you can actually invert the game and tilt it. And so, yeah. It's
Go back out of the alley.
and then you can't come back out the out lane if your shield's up though because you can't drop a target that way. So it's interesting. Yeah,
That's
it
like
gets
one of
fun.
those pinball mazes that you see.
Yeah, like the
sick.
2-knob labyrinth thing.
Yeah,
That was
yeah,
sort of
yeah.
the inspiration
Love
for that.
that.
Yeah, and so there's a mode that we're writing that you've got so there's a story mode where you're fighting monsters. They have health, and if you do the good shots, they lose their health, and if you do the bad shots, you lose your health. And there's a jackpot shot, but there's an anti-jackpot shot. And so in this particular mode, if you hit the anti-jackpot shot, there's a video of him throwing a car at you, and then I like drop the playfield 15 degrees to the left. And so now you've got a broken leg or whatever it is. And so you've got to play the game like that until you get a good shot, and then you'll heal yourself. Or you can get the health targets and heal yourself. And so there's another one where you can do a timer mode, and you have 30 seconds to do a thing, and as you're doing it, the playfield's just getting steeper and steeper. Or we can lay the playfield almost flat and just like totally nuke whatever speed you have in that game to make it really lethargic. So there's like a lot of really fun tricks you can do once you write the code for it, that's like my one weakness I would point out. Like, if you look at the skills needed to do a pinball machine, I'm like pretty high in a lot of them, and then just like 0 on code. And so I've been reaching out to Ernie and a few other people to help me build these modes, and I don't think it had any modes 2 weeks ago. And now it's got 3 modes you can play, and so find people that can help you. That's definitely one of the tricks.
You got some shots that are impossible without that feature, right?
Yeah. So without the tilting, some of the shots are pretty challenging.
Let's move on to Mike Testa.
Oh God, here we go.
Another person we challenged 7 months ago.
Yes.
He's been talking about
Thank
building
you.
a homebrew machine for years. Everybody really give Mike a round of applause.
Thank you.
He started this game before I even met him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This big game has been in the works for a while. He needed a deadline, and it's here.
Finally out of my garage.
Yeah, pretty much. And I really just finished this artwork like, I don't know, 2 days ago. Seriously. Yeah, it's really tough to do anything on a Wacom tablet when you're you got like maybe a half an hour, maybe an hour until the kids wake up. Dad, put me back to bed. Yeah. If you love your kids, that's, you gotta do your thing. But yeah, they're great. I love them. But yeah, that's, I guess when we're talking about weaknesses, it's just finding the time to really put aside or sneak in here and there to really work on it. But I was able to, and I'm here. I'm friggin' here. This is it. This is the accomplishment, really.
And it's
Yeah.
good.
Well, thank you, Ryan.
So, King of the
Thank you.
Arcade is off of the Pinball 2000 format with the monitor shooting down onto the top of the
Pepper's Ghost.
Pepper's Ghost.
We love Pepper's Ghost.
And a lot of help from Lynn on this.
Yes,
cabinet
very much
and
so.
all of that he's been working on over the years.
He's a very good teacher, and he lets me make mistakes so I can learn from him, and also be able to not make some mistakes that have been made in the past, which is very helpful. So I'm sticking in the right direction to make sure make sure things run smooth. And that's from a guy that's been doing it for, God, when did you start? 2006? It got to be before that.
It's actually immortal.
2008 or something.
Yeah, but you were making like a digital table before that, so you like,
The PS3 game?
yeah.
2007.
So this is what I'm talking about. This guy's been doing this for a long time, so he's picked up on stuff, and I'm very fortunate to be somewhat of an apprentice to be able to continue the learning, and I'm more of a idea guy when it comes to it, and design is something. Creating has always been, the artist in me has always been, inherent, but when it comes to like code and whatnot, and there's weaknesses and there's strengths, but you gotta do what you can do best, I would say.
And hey, he didn't burn the shop down with the blowtorch.
I know, because that was definitely a
And there was
concern.
wood right next door to where you were blowtorching that thing too. He was right on a wood table.
This is true.
And
This
so
is
some of the
true.
things you can't see is that the ramps in this are really neat, by the way. Everyone, again, at the end of this, go in and play these games. This ramp here is literally copper wire. So he literal copper wire form. There's
Yep.
cardboard in that. I'm sure there's some duct tape in
There's
there.
cardboard in there now because it
Yeah.
was getting stuck up a couple places. I'm pretty sure it's going to be, once we go back in there, the ball won't be stuck. I knew exactly where it was. And if it's just getting stuck in places where you already knew and you know how to fix it, F it. Cardboard. Just,
Ball still got stuck a few times in the back.
of course it did. I know there's a couple more places I couldn't fit back there, but
We use cardboard
Thank you.
in the professional industry. Don't worry about it.
I'm sure.
That's
There you
never
go.
gonna change.
But this is another thing. You don't have to get the first draft perfect.
No.
Right?
No.
It's
There's
going
some
to have bugs.
Frankensteins
It's
in
going to
there.
have problems. And sometimes going with the easier to use, more flexible, cheaper materials it gets you along the project further. Right? This
Yeah.
game is going to flip this weekend with cardboard ball protectors. And it's going to have a bunch of stuck balls in it. But so is Brian's game, who has beautiful ball protectors and edge guards in it that are 3D printed, because his aren't perfect yet either.
Well, I've got the
Right.
feature where it runs down the rails and then
Yeah,
at the
yeah,
bottom
you're
of the
just-
cabinet. It's,
Oh, see, yeah,
You have gutter lanes on the side of
Exactly,
yours
yeah.
to bring it back down into the cabinet.
yeah. It's an easy get that way.
Yeah.
We got to get you a little better grabber to throw it back on the
Maybe,
field,
yeah.
though. So
Those little mini hands.
A gigantic vuck that just pops out.
Where are the Freddy mechs where you can just slap it,
Right.
So, Mike, do you want to talk about? It's been
No.
a few years. Okay, fine.
Next question. Oh my God, I didn't know how loud it was gonna be. I'm so sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. Well,
Unintentional.
kind of like
Yeah, I
me
guess
screaming for no reason. It's fine.
Sorry.
So
Jillian,
we
please.
talked about the code and the hardware and the platform. We talked about how you got to where you got to.
Mm-hmm.
Where did this idea come from? Why are you doing this?
God, how do I summarize this in very... Okay, so started hanging out with Lynn a while back. I won't go too much into that, but we were playing games together, and then eventually he showed me, hey, I'm making a game. It's called Tower Flight, Adventures in Tower Flight. It's on Steam. Download that game. It's amazing. Anyways, shameless pitch. Sorry about that. Well, not sorry. It's a good game. And I helped him out on that a little bit. And afterwards, you know, it was received pretty cool off the bat. And they're like, hey, let's make a table together. I'm like, yes, let's do that. And he was just like, yeah, we can make it like a one-off thing. I'm like, I don't want to do that. I'm in it to win it, man. I want to do this for, like, if I'm going to put something out there, I want to, like, make it, you know, so everybody enjoys it, not, like, so there's, like, a couple things like, oh, I like this shot, and then just do the shot over and over. No, I want to make sure everybody likes it. So that's just how I work. I want to, you know, I'm an entertainer. Clearly you can see that. You can hear it in my voice and you know, a song and dance man, if you will. But, what is it?
Good actor too.
Thank you. Appreciate that. You know, Neapolitan, you know, 2000. Yeah, anyways. Yeah, you know, like, share the wealth when it comes to what you can do. But what I really wanted to do is I want everybody to be able to enjoy it. So this iteration, it's not, you know, it's going to take some time to really get more into it and be able to progress for the progression of this. But this is the groundworks. They're there. You know, I know what I'm going to add to it. I know what needs to be fixed. I know what I need to work with just to fine tune. But
the theme, how'd you come up with
oh, Jesus Christ. I know. Thank you. Thank you. So, okay. All right. Let's do that. Okay. So I was just thinking it'd be a fun little thing like a meta table. This, where do you see arcade games? They're in an arcade, right? It's a pinball table. So the play field, it's an arcade within an arcade. Very meta. You know, hipsterish time when this came out. So this is very relevant. Anyways, but pretty much with that, it's the king of the arcade. This is a competition where everybody's trying to get the high scores. All these are all the characters that you can see. I've got names for them. I have stories for them. A lot of things are written. There's things that don't need to be like there are there. You know, I'm an actor. I'm a director. I'm a writer at heart. So this was so important. Lynn was kind of like being like, don't worry about the artwork. You just slap something back. That I'm like, dude. Knowing that the table is not going to be exactly where I want it to be and like my deadline, I knew what I could accomplish. And I knew that I could set the stage in one set. A picture's worth 1,000 words. I wanted to set the stage. So you can look at that and be like, it's a blank table. But by looking at that and getting an idea, then you're going to be able to see, like, interesting. You pick apart. Look at what is it?
You give me your mic.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. Look at this back glass. People, I put a little light on it for a reason. Pick it apart, look at it. If you want to ask me questions, I'll go in depth because there's more to it. This is going to show you like what this game will be.
So a little backstory as to why I told him don't worry about the artwork. A week ago, this didn't even have a cabinet.
Yeah.
So there were more important things to worry about.
Well.
And 2 weeks before that, it had no harness. No wires whatsoever.
Well,
so we had more important things to worry about.
This is true. But luckily, I was able to make a little bit of time. Thank you, my wife and kids and family for being so supportive in this process. And yeah, time. Jesus, when you don't have time, man, you got to make it. And yeah.
All right, so our next person, we have two machines from you. Unfortunately, the slides are in the wrong order, so I'm going to skip this one, Battle Stations. But we're going to talk about Pincraft real quick, because Pincraft has been around before.
Pincraft has been around. It's actually here 4 years ago.
And I've seen it at other events across the country as well.
It's been to Expo, it's been to Allentown, it's been to York.
So has there been any advancements in Pincraft? I see there's a little more polish on it than some of the last times I've seen it, but anything since last year? Or
Yeah,
year
so
before,
Pincraft we consider complete. But what I did do is we added the ability to advance to the wizard mode. So if you actually go to the mode selection, there's the Ender Dragon Challenge. So you can go in and play the Ender Dragon Challenge and get right to the wizard mode and challenge that because it's actually a really fun mode and it's very hard to get there. So
He did that because I keep making him poke the switches and cheat to get me there.
That's actually very correct. That's exactly why we added
That was
it.
a real afternoon.
Now you make these pins with your son, right? This is a hobby you guys do together, or?
Yes, it's a hobby I started with my son Connor, which you will see him in the homebrew room. Trust me, he'll tell you all about the games. So it's something we started together when he was very little, and now he's very big. So.
And besides taking on this standard form factor, I guess we can call it, pinball machine, you guys recently went and decided to do a heads-up challenge.
Correct. So Battle Stations, which is in the center of the room, is our brand new, from the ground up homebrew game. The inspiration really came from other head-to-head games like Joust, and there's a couple of them like the soccer game, and I played
Football. I think.
football. Yeah, anyone I can get my hands on. And we were just at one point we had this little air hockey table in the basement. We put a pinball on it, and we were batting the pinball around at the hockey table, and it was like, this is fun. Like, why don't the other head-to-heads feel this way? And we said, let's take all the stuff away that's causing it not to be fun. Like, you look at Joust, like you're trying to go for score, and they put all this stuff in the middle that is in your way. And what you really want to do is just attack the other player. So that's where Battle Stations really came and got inspired from. So we also, like constraint-wise, we wanted to fit a standard pinball glass. So that's where everything started. Measurements was I want a standard pinball glass, and I want it to sit like flat. So it's we're not using really a bunch of unique parts. So it's most of the parts you can find off the shelf that were used to build it. It's a custom cabinet, but otherwise it's running fast. It's Mission Pinball. It's been 3 years now in the build cycle. So
I kind of intentionally glossed over Pincraft because I really want to talk more about Battle Stations. Because I really want to hear some of the design and build challenges and how well this hinge. You have a hinge literally in the middle there to have the two things pitched. Is the ball getting damaged on that? Have you seen anything there?
So the hinge came from the requirement to maintain the pinball machine, at least in a homebrew state, because all the other head-to-heads, there's a really awkward way to actually lift it, or you look at Joust, you actually have to go in from underneath. So the hinges came from, hey, I got to be able to lift this up and actually work on it. We haven't seen ball damage or anything from it, but we're looking at maybe alternatives. But it actually worked out really great, honestly. The other challenges we ran into is none of the stuff's the right height. So all the mounting hardware had to go lower than you typically expect. And again, it was just getting it to all fit in that custom cabinet with that constraint of I'm going to use a standard glass and standard lockdown bars. So that took quite a bit of work.
It looks fantastic. It's been busy every time I've tried to go in there. I actually wanted to try to get a play on it with either you or your son, and I just hadn't.
Yeah, it's a blast.
But too busy in there to even get in there and do that.
Yeah, and what I really appreciate about it is there's no score. The only objective is to beat the other player. So we see kids, we see people that really aren't, super pinball players. They go up to it, they approach it, they play it. They don't know exactly what they're doing the first time, but they want to play it again and figure it out. And that's what really pinball is all about. Is you can't just walk up to a game and play it. You have to want to come back and figure it out. So it kind of like sparks that in the players, and I think I really appreciate that. And that's the reception I wasn't expecting, but really surprised me when we put it out at Expo, and here as well.
If I remember correctly, it doesn't have any outlanes. All the outlanes go to the flippers, correct?
There is one outlane on
There's
the right
one
side.
Okay. Because that was another thing that as I was watching people play it, I was like, wow, this is pretty engaging because you don't have a lot of shots just going out, and you're getting to make a lot of shots. And so, how many balls are in the game?
There are 6 now.
6.
We originally had a lot more. We had 14, but we found out we couldn't launch them fast enough that you only needed 6. So.
I'd imagine the troughs are a problem too if you have too many on one side.
Well, that was the other problem, yeah, because you could get too many balls on one side, so they jam up. So we found that out awfully quickly, that you think
Less
it's a
is
great
more.
idea, we'll put as many balls, like, we'll have 14 balls in the game, and they'll all fly out at everybody, and you realize, well, I can't get them to even kick out fast enough to make that even work. So 6 works much better now.
Yeah, another lesson learned across the. I wouldn't have expected that.
Yep.
How about the displays? I think you've got displays for each player. Can you talk about how far along you are on using those and what your aspirations are?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a recent addition. We realized we need some sort of display, especially if you would, like, put it in an arcade. You need to know how many coins you need to put in, and you need to know, like, you need a screen for a service menu. So it's kind of like we're forced to put a display in there. It didn't need it. So the software's very alpha. It's about a day's worth of software actually on the screen, just to kind of say who won and make the ship explode. But we're planning on adding some more in there as well as we go along. So, but it's funny, the feedback we get is often, "Oh, add more," and the problem is the game works because it's less. So we're very cautious about adding more and actually upsetting that balance.
All right, I'm going to move on to the honorable mention slide because you do have 4 machines here. And you're a friend, and I love you or something. Yeah. So let's excuse me. You want to talk about Christmas?
Yeah, sure. Get him up here. Come on, Lynn. Come on.
But I'm sitting here.
He's not going to move.
It's not going.
My butt
If
is
I
on
had
this chair.
all of that effort.
Okay.
No.
Yeah. So the Christmas machine, it started off as 12 Days of Christmas. I've streamed pretty much the whole development process on Facebook, and I recorded all of that, so it's all going to go on YouTube as well. I didn't stream the last, I want to say, 20 hours of just the wiring and getting the cabinet ready and all that, but the vast majority of the important part of designing the playfield, getting the playfield up to a flippable whitewood, and doing some of the art and whatnot, that's all there. And actually, I streamed some of the programming I did too for a bunch of the basic modes. And then, when you stream, you have to focus on the stream, and I need to just focus on just getting the game done. So that I just said, nuts to the stream. I need to, finish the thing. But yeah, I started the first week in November of last year, 2023, and I want to say compressed my time down. It was probably only about 40 to 60 man hours total to make this game from nothing to what it is, including the cabinet and everything. Yeah.
But he has a lot of practice.
Yeah.
Well,
10 years.
Might have done it before.
Yeah.
yeah, well, it's not just I have a lot of practice. I have a lot of systems in place. I have software that I just copy paste and then it's ready to go. I have playfield templates I can just start off with, and I have a whole process I can kind of just do. Yeah. But Christmas is there. It's also the first one that doesn't use the augmented head. It uses a regular standard head, except, Unico 26-inch screen came out last year, and those things are awesome, and I wanted not a back glass, but a screen. So that's what it is. I hope they have a 32-inch screen that comes out at some point, because I really like a bigger screen. And yeah, that's kind of it. Oh, and the reason I didn't make Christmas augmented, because I was originally thinking about it, is when I was at Expo, a couple people played Magic Forest and said they hated it because it was too dark. So this is my response to them saying, nuts to you, now this is bright, and you can see everything.
Love it.
My answer to that is not everybody's opinion is as valued as other people's, because that one's wrong. It's just that opinion's wrong.
It may be wrong, but it may be wrong, but there's now a nice bright game that anybody can play, and the shots don't rattle that much.
So one of the things I love about Lynn is his process, the way that he goes about things, and sometimes they come up and they appear haphazard and like, well, this is never going to be done. I'm never going to finish this, right? It's good enough, and I'm going to move on. And then other things, you're an extreme perfectionist, which I also really appreciate.
To a point.
When you fold the head down on this, and of course he showed me because he knows how much I appreciate details
love
like
this.
this. When you fold the head down on this machine and look at it from the side, the ribbon on the side of the head lines up with the ribbon that makes the package for the rest of the cabin. And it is just like you took the time to do the math, the engineering, the everything to make that
There was
happen.
no math for that. No. It's called make everything in one big Photoshop file so the patterns all line up, and then fold the head down when you put the side on. and
Cut it.
kind of hope that it lines up, and then realize you're a millimeter off and say, screw it.
No one will notice.
Yeah. Well, no, you loosen the head nut and you push the head up a little bit and you
should have just lied. It's difficult. Details are hard. You should have just lied.
Yeah.
So now that I know that Lynn's turnaround time for a brand new game is 60 hours, can I challenge him to make every single other holiday this year?
Oh my God, yes!
Well, normally I'd say yes, but I'm going to say no because between now and Expo, I want to work on all 4 of those games, replace 3 play fields, new art for actual art for Haunted Cruise and actual art for Frozen, new ramps for Haunted Cruise, and software all across the board and make them like fucking amazing for Expo.
That is a way better answer than my dumb question deserves. But I got my laugh, so I'm happy.
You got your laughs, but you know what? Your dumb question, fuck you.
How do I have to edit? My
And that's why
God.
we're not streaming this seminar.
No, turn that off. Go back to the other one. Thank you. Here.
No, it's not.
Oh, this is better.
Yeah, well, no, that'll go on the screen behind you when we tell him to.
This is on the screen behind you?
Not at the moment, but it will be when we
Oh,
tell him
sick.
to. Now it's on the screen. You see, it's right.
You shouldn't have given me this!
Jillian, don't you know better than this?
No, I don't. I don't.
Oh, I should
Switch it
run
back,
around
switch
and...
it back.
Oh,
I'm gonna get
gosh.
this back.
Try to find Steve Ritchie.
Okay.
Idea.
So I gave you that not to point at the audience and Lynn. I gave you that so I could stand over here and be lazy.
Yeah, but you give it to the wrong person.
Fine.
No, you gave it to the right guy. I got it.
It's fine. Don't. That's good. You opened your mouth now.
Oh, fine. Oh, yeah. Show us the box of toys. The box of toys.
Yeah.
If you wanted to stay on task, I wouldn't be the moderator.
There's a couple good ones in here.
But we love you.
I have no idea why.
Little tubes and pipes.
So why don't you start talking about this?
Hold on. I'm just going to get them out on the table and then get this box out of my way.
We will. We know. Put those anywhere.
There's spare parts for a reason.
This is a really dumb day to quit drinking.
So I'm big into 3D printing. I'm big into making models. Part of the fun of this game was I got to design all these cool mechanisms. So it was like, what are some cool things we can do we've never seen before? The 3D printer kind of really let me like open the door and look at that, right? So like, this is a ramp I designed. Here, hold up to there. So this is call it inertia ramp, and there's no diversion here, but there's 2 exits. There we go. So if you hit the ball really hard, it comes out the top, and if you don't hit it hard enough, it falls down to this lower level here. But I was thinking, I really wanted a reliable way to get to the mid-level, and so there's also this side scoop. And so I have a backwards flipper in my game, and if you get it just right, you can pop this chute here, and it comes up and it comes out the side lane here. I'll give a plug to the printer I have is a Bamboo X1C. It is amazing. It prints really nice parts. You can do multicolor printing, so like it's plausible to make that all one. Ooh, look at that. We can print this as one piece, and it'll just do all the colors on its own. But the real thing it does is the speed. So this side part here is about 90 minutes off the printer. And so it lets you like do some work, you send the part to the printer, work on something else, oven dings, you go pull your part out, you drop it in there. And so it really allowed me to iterate, quite a bit on the game. So like one of the things I had to do was figure out exactly the right envelope. So all of my parts I did have sort of a wireframe around like, okay, will it fit? And so this ramp, like whenever I put in there, I have to like scooch it just right because there's only one sort of orientation it actually fits in the machine. But then, this is a 4-hour print, and now I have a brand new ramp. So it was a lot of fun to just come up with cool ideas. We've got. Do this one. So the other one that I thought was fun. Let's see if we can put this together.
This one's cool.
So this is a Helix captive ball. There's a pin in the way that I'll just grab that. You ejected it. You didn't break
That
it.
was pretty cool, yeah.
So I wanted to come up with a new captive ball. So the ball sits here in the bottom, and when you hit it, it goes all the way up to the top, and then it falls back again. And so this is the version that was my prototype. It doesn't have any sensors in it, and I just wanted to figure out, like, could I do it? The other thing that I decided would be fun to suffer through was using wires, because I liked the way it sounded. It turns out once you put the glass on, you don't hear it anyway. But it looks pretty, and like mixed materials is something I like a lot. Like if everything's just one color 3D printed, it sort of loses its dynamics, it loses its fun. So I wanted that shiny wire in there. The challenge with that was these are not crocheting. It's like the circles you get when you knit through them. And so I bought those on Amazon. I dremeled them into a hoop, and then you're just manually bending them, trying to get it to fit in there just right, and then you super glue it in. And you walk away with all your clamps on there, and then you go to fit it, and it turns out that the wire is actually stronger than the printed part, and so now your part doesn't fit. So if you look closely at this, it's dremeled to hell because I didn't care. I just wanted it to work. And then the next one I built that's in the game, I took a lot more care on, and in the design, I made a jig that held this really strong, so that when I was doing the wiring and the gluing, that would be the part that held properly. And when I took the jig off, the amount of dremeling didn't go to 0, but it went much lower than it was for this one. So one of the things I really enjoyed with the game was just kind of coming up with things I've never seen before. There's a mechanism that's not here. Actually, I do have this. No, it's not here. There's another mechanism where I've got this ramp. So again, 3D printed. There's a little diverter here. So this is a servo. This thing works really nicely. When you open the mode, you can load a ball in here, and there's a mechanism that it's like the little penguin thing where it marches up the steps.
Oh, cool.
But it's circular, and so when you fire, it's a post, safe post solenoid. And so when I pull it down, that's just the bottom. That's not fun. The ball moves, 1/6 of a rotation, and then when it releases, it moves the other 6 of the rotation. So you can load 3 balls in there, and every time you do it, it goes chink chink, and the ball moves to another zone.
Love that.
And when you fully load it, it just fires a whole bunch of times, and all the balls dump out. But so if you have the ability to get a 3D printer or get access to one, if you've got the ability to learn how to do CADing, you can really come up with a lot of stuff. This is the Bamboo X1C. That again, it just spits parts out so fast, and there's some.
Show your drop target piece.
Oh yeah. So what I was saying earlier, like this isn't your normal drop target. But if I put this on an outlane, when the game tilts, I smash the solenoid through the wall of the cabinet. So I needed to get the system over further, and so this is how I get my outlane with this particular part.
File a patent.
Yeah.
Offset
And
drop
so,
target.
Offset
so
drop target.
That's amazing.
getting this to work just right. So now it's got some flex in it, and so I had to mess with the latches and whatnot. And currently the one in the game's not functioning. But this was just another, kind of silly thing. I had to come up with a solution like, well, I've got Pirates, JGP Pirates. It's like I could just scooch the in-lane to the inside, and I could do the crisscross they do, but that seemed like more effort than I wanted, and I wanted to look like just normal outlanes. So this was the solution for that. And it turns out there's also a post in the way, so you get this nice little knockout for, oh crap, I forgot that's there, right. So this is the Gen 2 of this design. But
do you still get the on the end of the ball of that helix? You still get that sound?
you get the whack noise, yeah. Yeah, it's really satisfying to watch it go up and then sort of circle the drain and go down again. And the ring, it actually goes through a light ring, which is a feature I wanted to have. So the light ring is sort of only kind of coded right now. My primary focus, so like for me, the challenge is the coding, right? I'm pretty good at doing artsy stuff, pretty good at designing mechanical components. I can wire okay.
What are you using to design your pinball?
So I'm using a program called Creo. It's similar to SolidWorks. I use it professionally. I've been using it for like 20 years. So I'm pretty efficient at getting all sorts of weird shapes. Like yesterday, we were shooting off this ramp here. And so last night I went home and I just made a diverter for this thing. And I brought it in and I had some hot glue and it just went on there perfectly. And it's like, oh, it's just so nice when like the things in your computer match reality, because I know that when I print it, it's just going to work. So the hard part for me was the coding. It's like I can spend an hour doing hardware, and that hour will be useful. Or I can spend an hour doing coding, and I might have a thing that works sort of kind of at the end, or I might just like destroy my code. And so I would always sort of just lean to like, well, I'll just do some hardware. We'll do the code later. And again, leaned on some people, and the code got done in a couple weeks. The code that's here got done in a couple weeks, primarily because it's like, well, if the game's not done, I don't know how I want to write the story. Like I know what I want to do, but if that shot's not there, if that switch isn't wired, if the solenoid's not working, if the light's not on, like it didn't feel like there was a lot of value in doing the code for it because there was nothing to tie it into. So I really leaned heavily on the hardware for a long time. and then only recently started to sort of pivot away from it because things have like stopped moving every single day, and now it's sort of gelled.
Things like this really interest me because it's something I don't remember. It was something Mark said or something you said, Ryan, about playfield layout and positioning from underneath to prevent things like this. Because stuff like this makes manufacturing really hard, right?
Unless you have a 3D printer and you're only making one.
And if you're only making one, right? Exactly. And so coming up with creative solutions for stuff like this for one-off parts is fantastic. It really is. And I love the quality on that, by the way. I'm a huge Borderlands fan, so
Yeah.
the whole theme just kind of speaks to me, and all the little details that I see everywhere as a fan of the franchise. Just, I don't want to spend too much more time on you, but do you want to talk about these real quick?
Yeah. So there's 2 wireforms in the game. We were kind of messing around with how we wanted them to work. You know, you've got the one coming off this ramp. You've got the one coming off the inertia ramp that's going around. And the game, there's some pretty hard shots in the game. They've been opened up since the hand-built first Whitewood, but it's still pretty tricky. And I like a game where you can do some control and catch your shots. So these actually bring the ramps not to the in lanes, but to the slings. And they do it in such a way that for the most part I can drop it in front of the sling without triggering it. The left one, the sensor's a little aggressive, but you get about a 50-50.
Previously mentioned you're a masochist, so you just decided that just slings is the way.
Yeah, no, it's supposed so that I want to drop them into the slings and then have them run off so you can catch it. So that way, if you want a reliable shot, if you hit a ramp, you've got a pretty good chance of catching the ball, thinking about what you want to do next, and then taking your shot. That's cool. So that's where these came from.
Ryan, thanks for bringing that up because it's one of the things I feel about your game. Is that if you stage more balls in certain parts, like where there's one spot where you capture the ball and it gets shot out someplace else, and if that goes and hits that sling and goes across, it goes across. If those balls were staged, I'd swear he's Scott Denisi, because the game would just be mean at that point. It would just instantly just start throwing stuff towards the drain.
Yeah.
And that's because Scott hates himself, and he's a crappy player.
He hates all of us in the same part.
His words, not mine. Scott Denisi loves making hard games, but he doesn't even try to be good at them. He just likes watching other people suffer. He hates other people, and he's one of my best friends at this point. So
I'm also pretty bad at pinball, but one of the things we did yesterday was we got here, watched some people play it, and they'd get a mode going, and they would drain it. And it's like, so every mode has a ball save now. It's just like, you know what, you get a mode, you get a ball save, and the timer doesn't work. So you get a mode, you get a ball save. It could be 5 seconds later, it could be 4 minutes later, but don't worry, it's there waiting for you. And if you get 2 modes, then you get 2 ball saves waiting. And it's the stuff. It's like, it's just good enough, right? Like the thing you find with pinball is, I'm staying up till like 5, 6 in the morning some of these nights because like there's no stop. Like there's just that's done. Well, if I just do this real quick and send it to the printer, then I'll have it in the morning. And then you send it to the printer. Like, well, that's only 45 minutes.
What can I get done?
I can stay up for 45. I could do the wiring over there, and then when this is done, it'll.
Yeah.
And then actually the wire. So let me just solder the connector on, and you're like, it's 5 in the morning.
Yeah, the sun is coming up at that
Yeah,
point.
like what? Birds chirp. Oh boy.
I have work tomorrow, but I think I can get this couple done 5 a.m. Wake up 2 hours.
Working from home with employees that are all in California for the most part definitely helped my pinball hobby a little bit. Having family that puts up with my shit and like lets me I can send my wife a message. It's 6 a.m. I'm going to bed. Can you please take the kids to school? I need an extra 30 minutes of sleep. That's definitely helpful to have a little bit of flexibility. But to Mike's point, it's like just about finding the time. Like I don't know how many hundreds of hours are into this, but I was doing 40 or 50 hours a week for the last month on the game just to get it where it is. Because I had a vision of what I've been off the web. My goal for this was to just plop this thing down. Like when I saw Jillian last time, she's like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm an enigma. I hide in the shadows." And then my goal was to just here you go, world. This is my first game, and so really trying to get to that level, with printed art and just all the little things. It's like every minute you put into it, unless you're doing coding, feels like something you get that time back out of it. You can see it change. I love the coding. The coding makes it awesome. I need to learn it. But it's just everything you put into it, you get back, right? And you can just watch
too many
it.
minutes on coding. It doesn't take that much to write a mode.
I'm just terrible.
suck at it, Lynn.
I know it's because I suck at it.
Code better.
You've got 3 L's there. That's why it's not working. Like, do you know how long I've been trying to fix that bug? Are you serious? There's 3 L's. You can't see that. I'm like, no, I got 4 hours of sleep last night. I can't see anything.
Welcome to welcome to programming.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't have the mind for a programmer. I have the artist engineering mind, not the syntax
Just
mind.
too bad you have good compilers now, whereas C++, if you missed that semicolon 20 years ago, you'd have 10,000 errors. And you have to figure out which one that is.
Start in the middle.
hey, Mr.
Every once in a while, Mission Pinball will say, "It looks like you did this. You should do this," and you're like, oh. But it's like 1 in 10 maybe.
Yeah. Error in config file.
All right, Mike, go ahead.
To add on top of that, like I was saying before, when it came to our strengths and weaknesses, really our games and us as designers, we're really trying to explore what we can do, but also show everyone our strengths, our weaknesses. It's a showcase of what we can do. I was talking about, I forget who I was talking about this to, but a bunch of different people, a bunch of different designers, a bunch of different homebrewers. We need to work together. Like, we can easily take someone else's ideas or at least just put something else on there and put our own little thing, but we all have the same goal. We want to make a game. We want to make this so we can use each other to be able to do what, like, our master plan is. Like, just like any other company, any other, that's what they do. They have different little jobs for everything. I see a lot of people doing it on their own, and I think that's really cool. But since, like, this is phenomenal. Like, these things are so cool. Like, they have, like, people have been in the industry for years and years and years to do what you do. And this is it's blowing my mind, some of the little things that you've showcased in your game. It's just like, if we ever are like, I'm stuck on something, like, we should always be like, I'm a call away. Let's work together. And this is going out to everybody else that will see this. We should be working together.
What's the Discord that we're on?
It's try to Homebrew. It's on Discord.
There you go.
So Ernie's got a Discord. There's a handful of people on there. They also have weird hours. You can jump on and be like, anyone see what the hell's wrong with my code? Like, what's going on?
I know.
3D printing. Like, oh, hey, here's how you do X. Y,
Code,
Z.
what's that? Like, my brain doesn't work that way. I can't think that way. I wish I could. I've tried. Lynn, I tried. He wanted. He put me in front of Unity for a little bit. I can make this ball run around, and I'm like, I can't do anything else.
I
So,
just threw him in the deep end.
yeah.
Unity is a little bit of a
It's
deep
all
end.
right.
So on that note, let me voluntold Brian here into something else. So when this hits YouTube, you need to go and put links to the Discords and things onto the video.
Yeah.
Make sure that actually happens, because I say it's going to happen every year and it never does.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of those things.
Yeah, that's
so
what I hear.
somebody
That's where the-
collect a
yeah.
list, and he has now been voluntold. Sorry, Brian.
Jesus, you hate me?
No, I love you that much.
have
That's
to-
what it is, and I trust you that you'll get it done.
Buy-in.
And on that note, just so you know, I can code like a wizard. I can't do this.
All right, we'll trade.
I can't do this, right? And so, yes, we all have our strengths
what
and
I'm talking
weaknesses.
about.
And
That's what I'm talking
and
about. We
I
gotta
think
work
there's a
together.
lot of people here who help each other out, which is fantastic.
yeah.
So
There
we
you
have
go.
about 5 minutes left. I want to make sure we get time for questions. There's a little padding at the end of this, but I'm a hypocrite if I take it because I fought for it and I'm making everybody else stick to it. But we're going to take Princess's privilege maybe. So one of the last questions I have is what's next, right? Some of these games are finished. Some of these games aren't finished. What's next? What's the plan? And what are you committing to bring me back next year? Yeah, and then I have to find suckers in the room. What?
You have a whole year.
You have a year this time.
Yeah,
A whole year instead of 7 months.
Great
Unless you're going to Expo, and then Expo's what? 5 months from now? October.
October. I'm not going
6.
to
Yeah, I'm not going to
Unfortunately.
Expo. Yeah. You want to start? Go ahead.
Oh, where to start? So code. It's probably the biggest one is code. I finally got things together, audio boards, really assembled and put together, and I'm kind of happy with my layout or design, even though it's not very innovative. It's kind of
That's something we never talk about as the sound
kinda
packages
shoots
and
like
what
an
we're doing
old-
for sound packages, and we will fix that for next year. We will focus on sound stuff.
My game kind of shoots like an old Williams, but I want to do really modern code with it and get it up to snuff. It's a combo. Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. It just it's feel. But that's my biggest goal for next year or next show.
Wonderful.
That's Matt.
My goal, get the control system working again, so it actually does like the thing it's supposed to do. Beyond that, it's going to be advancing the code. There's a whole bunch of modes and stories I want to tell with this game. And then I've got a ton of media assets, but you don't have to take the time to go through them and pick and choose what you want to use. And so a lot of it's just going to be going through, like, what sound do I put here? How do I figure out how I can turn off the pop bumpers in the bass mode when I've got another mode running? And so, yeah, it's get the game tilting. Sounds funny to say. And then get the assets and get it all programmed up.
So for me, I've set the stage, but we have to have modes. We have to have what is in plans, which is already written. Bunch of stuff that's already like in set aside. Like I know what this game's gonna be, which is good. A lot of times that's not the case, but having this and including it onto a blank page with and of course the Pepper's Ghost is definitely going to help me out to show that if there's anybody out there that can animate, I want an opening animatic. I'm not saying that it's going to be able to happen this year, but that's something in the future I really want. I have a storyboard, man. I really want that. Yeah.
So battle stations, that prototype's actually done. So my goal next is I'm going to build another one.
Nice.
4 players. Yeah, let's go.
4 players.
No 4 players, but just an actual.
8 players.
Less is more. Less is more.
You get caught up in
So
the...
we're gonna create a second one.
The Pinball Octagon.
Too many ideas. We're gonna create a second one, and we'll have artwork and the full package in the playfield because we need to repackage it to get the artwork in, and there's actually gonna be a Lexan overlay over the hinge. Cool. So that's in progress. Then we have another homebrew. It's more traditional. It's in progress, but I'm not gonna announce it yet. Probably 2 years yet on that one.
Cool.
Very cool.
Questions from the audience?
Is there a video of the playfield maybe?
There
Yes,
is,
there
yeah.
is.
Come by and we'll put it on the main screen on Borderlands afterwards.
There's proof. It's there.
I've seen it move. I just
Yeah, I
want
saw
everybody
it
else
really.
to-
I was like, what is that? Sick.
I also have my laptop that has CAD on it, so if people want to see some CAD and some poke around in the game, we can spin that for a little while too.
Cool.
Cool.
Truly impressive cat.
Maybe.
Yes. Not me.
Anyone else?
You didn't find your volunteer for next year yet.
No, I gotta do that.
Ask the question.
I will. All right, who's thinking of making a pin?
Yes.
What's your wrong? What are you working on?
Thinking.
I'm very early stages. I talked to Brian and Ernest ear off for way too long, and they were exceptionally helpful and great directions. I think the biggest thing that I pulled from them is expect to do your playfield multiple times.
Yeah.
Start out from scratch. Know you're going to throw it away and find stuff that works. I was talking to you guys about shot geometry and stuff like that a little bit with Connor. How many of you guys actually like you lay down your playfield and you got it in semi-solid state, you know, like line it up with tape or stuff like that? And the other question I had is Warhammer guy. I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
It's okay. It's Aaron.
Aaron, when you go from playing it to saying, you know, if I just did like this, how long does that iteration take you? Like a week, a day, or it just depends on I imagine, depends on how complex the tweak is.
In terms of like just how like would I tweak my geometry? Like how long would it take me to get the shot right?
Well, it was like 2 questions. Like the first one was like about when you how many iterations did you go through for shot geometry? How long do you think does that really take you to get right? Like a week, a day?
Yeah, I mean you can get most shot geometry kind of tweaked in maybe like an hour or two. Like it doesn't take that long before you're like, you know, you've drilled like maybe 4 or 5 holes and you're like, all right, this didn't work. All right, this didn't work. This one kind of works. I'm getting close. And then you're like, okay, I'm really happy with this one. Like, and then you get to that point and then There you go. And then you take out the wood putty and you fill all your holes, and you're like, okay, this looks like shit, but we're getting there. It's really an iterative process, and yeah, it sucks time and it hurts, and you eventually get there. You will eventually get there. You just have to put in the effort and your time. It's really it.
Poster paper and painter's tape.
Duct tape.
Duct tape and
anything
poster. You can use.
But yeah, I mean, there's lots of things you can do to accelerate your process. Obviously, like Dave.
You're all talking about doing the real 3D materials. How far could you get in a computer and just simulating what the geometry is?
Are you referring to like maybe a computer application where you can play your what is that?
VPX.
You know what it's called? What is that?
It's VPX.
Yeah, VPX.
Yeah.
Or like maybe like drawing it up and then CADing it.
No, VPX.
VPX.
Yeah.
I dabbled with VPX a little bit when I first started. Just like, hey, look at this! I can make a pinball machine. It's a lot of effort to put into the game. Like, I mean, you get something that you can see on a computer, but it's not like 20 minutes. That's a pretty heavy hurdle.
If you're way off, does it reveal clunkiness early or anything like that?
I mean, like a little bit, yeah. Like
Ryan
for
says
me,
yes. Ryan
Yeah,
says yes.
so Ryan has talked about this ad nauseum in 2 other seminars at the last hotel, where he talked about his goal in VPX was to put a flippable pin together that was fun before he drilled a single hole, so that he could get it out to all of us and all of his friends. I had to go load VPX on my computer and play it for an hour before he would be my friend again. He was voluntolding all of us. I think I might have learned this from him, actually.
maybe.
Probably.
I'm sure you knew that way before.
I did know that way before. But it was a crucial start of. So go ahead if you want to grab a mic. Actually,
I'm loud enough, you know that.
Are you?
But we can.
Turn it on when it gets to you.
Woo! Nice catch.
Close.
It's not my first catch from Jillian's poor throws. So I won't get into too much of the weeds because it's actually in some of the old seminars, and it's going to be, we're going to mention it a little bit more at the American Pinball Seminar about Barrio's Barbecue. That's tomorrow, right? I don't know. I got to make sure I show up.
Go ahead.
But VPX is an incredibly useful tool for people who are, like back here, you're trying to save some time. It doesn't work for everybody because it's another tool you need to learn. Like you do need to learn it. It's not quick. But once you're fluent in it, kind of like how Lynn can throw together an entire game in 60 hours because he's fluent with this entire process, I can make a game from like napkin doodle or even idle thought in my head to completely realized concept in less than 3 days of being paid at my salary job. So that's the game that I'm working on right now that's going to be professionally produced was designed in 3 days in VPX. And then after that, I was also able to start iterating incredibly quickly. You're right, with the simulator that is 95%-ish accurate. So
Even backhands? Backhands usually suck with VPX.
they do. And I will give you that. Backhands are awful in VPX. Plan your backhands accordingly as a player. Like I said, it's not perfect. But I have
And
heard
your
it
ramp
from,
heights? Ramp heights are also not great on
my
VPX.
ramp heights are great.
On VPX,
Yep.
the ball can fit through a spot that it.
Yep. Dead on.
That's interesting.
Dead on. Anyway,
Never worked for me.
I've been able to get my games to the point where I use VPX, the simulator, as my Whitewood Zero. So I never build my Whitewood Zero. My Whitewood Zero is completely virtual, and I'd say 75% of my iteration is done there, because you're right. I immediately can see this is never going to work. I'm going to not waste my time on it. Or, close. All right, over here, over here, over here. And it's the exact same as Aaron's process, except I don't have to Bondo 6 holes afterwards. That's it. And so I've been told by my playtesters that when they got my Whitewood, they said it shot like a level 2, level 3 Whitewood that they're used to. So and I was like, good, because I spent months moving things every so slightly before I basically traced it in my CAD program. So it is very useful, but you have to have the mindset of that you're going to sink the time into it. And if you're fluent in it and you can understand how to learn from it, you can greatly save time at no cost. And that was the real thing I pitched it for in the previous Homebrew seminars, which was it's a great entry point with zero cost. So if you're just thinking about it and you're not quite ready to take the dive into the, the pinball machines are not cheap anymore.
No.
And like Jillian said, if you have a 2x Playfield price multiplier on anything that is custom built, so if you're buying games for $8,000, y'all could do the math on how much these gentlemen have spent building their games.
My wife is here, dude. Shut up. Also, I'm way under that budget. So
I'm sure.
Sure you are.
Get out of here. Leave. Go.
Poor Lynn.
You have a good accountant, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
He says
but
2x.
it lowers
he's
the
being
barrier
light.
of entry to people who will find out if they really want to do this. And then by the time you've messed around with VPX for long enough, you're like, I want to. Like you'll know that it's something you're willing to put the time and cost into, and you'll be able to figure out at no cost if this is for you. So that's why I say it.
Those 3 salary days, are they 20-hour days like these guys, or are they normal people's days?
They're at least 10, yes, because those are the ones I get most excited about.
Yeah.
Designing a brand new game, that's the one they can't kick me out of the office. It's when they want me to do boring paperwork stuff and fight with managers that I want to get the hell out of there as soon as possible. But more about that tomorrow.
But yeah, so
No, I'm not going to choose.
So I kind of poo-poo VPX because of the various issues I have with it. But truth be told, the first games I made were on VPX because they were for PS3, and I wrote a converter to convert from VPX to Lua and like polygons to run on PS3. So the original games were all in a cross converter from Visual Basic to C++ and everything. So the first games I did were technically on VPX 8, and yeah. So I've used it, I understand it, and I don't like it anymore.
The physics have come a long way in 10 specifically. Try it again.
No, I have a Wacom tablet. I can just play with that.
So yeah, I started with VPX.
Doesn't need to
as
save
well.
time.
I think it's another tool, right? It's another thing you can use. The zero cost entry point is definitely factual. For me, like I play with it a little bit, and I happen to be really skilled at like the designing, and I can put things in my hand, and I'm much better at having things in my hand. So one of the things I'd say is, I have a lot of 3D printed parts, but like when you have a hammer, everything's a nail. And so that's why, I have a 3D printer that can spit out exactly perfect things in like hours, and like that's what I leaned against to get this out of here. I don't have a wood shop. Like I wasn't interested in doing a lot of stuff on the playfield because it's just hard. And so that was like the smoothest way to watch the game transition with high efficiency.
Literally said that same thing in your exact same chair, like 2 years ago. When you have a hammer, everything's a nail. Talking about 3D printing, so.
Oh, there you go.
Hell yeah.
Anybody else thinking of making a homebrew machine?
Yes.
Okay, good. By the way, you've been voluntold. I want to see it next year. Flipping game, doesn't have to have any logic or any rules. Whitewood in a cabinet, flippers, cabinet's optional.
Cabinet's optional.
Cabinet's optional. If you bring a you played your game for a long time before you put it in a cabinet. On a rotisserie, cabinet's optional.
So I've had a few different ideas for a few different machines, but the one I'll say is because it.
Thanks, sir.
With your Borderlands.
Check. Test it.
Should be good.
That was me.
No, it's not on.
Damn it, Tom.
Yeah, no, you're good. You're good.
All right. With your Borderlands table and how it moves, I've also had an idea like that, except not side to side as well, just up and down. And if I ever make it, it would be a space-themed game, and like you go to different planets, and lower gravity. The table is more flat.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah?
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Do it.
Peer pressure.
You got a year.
Yeah.
You have a year.
Got a year. Bring us something.
Do it.
Doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be.
Somebody knows robotics and knows how to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Lynn and I will literally just pick up the front and back.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Tell up, down, okay, we'll do it.
Yeah.
Don't even have to say
start
anything. Just
doing it
have
makes
different
some
types of
progress.
tasers for us.
Yeah, just
Yeah,
cattle
exactly.
I had started with the notion of having one, and then I thought about all the things I could do with more, and am a sadomasochist.
Feature creep.
I was going to say the same thing.
Scope creep.
Yeah.
But you got to start. I think that's the thing that we've heard here repeatedly over the last, God, it's been 6 or 7 years.
Yeah.
Getting old.
Starting is the hardest.
Every single you just get started. Get it here. So the best I can say is you owe me a machine next year.
So
I want to
speaking
see
about
something with some flippers and something. The rest of it doesn't matter. But I think when you get to that point, you'll start innovating.
So speaking about getting started, I have a fairly large shop now, and I'm thinking about starting a pinball-specific maker-type space for everybody.
Yay!
I'm thinking about it. So if you guys are interested, come talk to me. This is me right here. Hi. Come talk to me. It's still.
Lynn, you want this?
Oh yeah, I'll take it. Yeah.
Taking money?
Let's do it.
Taking money now?
So I'm thinking about different types of options for it and whatnot, but there's a lot of people in this New England area that just want to make games that now and the future, and as everybody's saying, hey, community helps. Like one person knows something, someone else doesn't know something, and another person has already dealt with the problem that you're dealing with and can tell you, don't do that, stupid, right? Having a space might be useful specifically for that, rather than a general makers or a general this or that. Where, oh yeah, I'm making a new table, like a new dresser. Oh, okay, great. That doesn't help me with pinball, or does it? But yeah, so I'm thinking about that idea. So come talk to me.
New England Homebrew League.
Something like that. I don't know that. I haven't thought that far ahead. I just came up with this idea like 3 weeks ago because I have like 6,000 square feet now.
Yeah.
You know what's nice about that idea is that what a lot of people won't tell you is that making homebrew games is kind of a curse, because then you get stuck with this machine forever, which you can't part with because it's got hundreds and hundreds of hours of your life into it, even when you don't want to look at it anymore.
Yes.
And so if you set up that space to also be like a rotating spot for people to like park a home.
No, you see, I have a solution for that. Emily, it's called EMP. Right?
She's
gone.
had to leave.
Oh.
She was
It's called
here,
EMP. My 3 games, soon to be 4, are all at EMP, and so the public plays them 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, basically.
Nice.
And if you guys make a homebrew game, have the public play it. Otherwise, you won't know what's wrong, and you won't know how well it holds up.
Yeah.
Don't make a game to have in a vacuum. There's no fucking point in that.
need
Make
to
a game
stress
for
test.
people to play.
Bring your games.
Yeah. So
Get your games played.
I just want to let people know. Bring your games. I was here last show and my game just flipped. And I didn't have ramps or really, a lot of stuff finished. But I still brought the game, and the benefit. But the benefit of coming to the show is the fact that you get a lot of people to play your game. You start figuring things out. It's the little things that you don't get at home in your basement or wherever the heck you're building your game. You're not going to get that experience. So it is absolutely worth bringing your game to the show. Lynn can attest to it. Bring your game. Please bring your
Testa,
game.
what was I telling you all couple months leading up to this?
If
Bring
it-
your damn game. I didn't give two shits if it flipped or not. It was going to be here for people to play it and see it and tell you what's good or not, because you needed it to get that fire under your ass.
Exactly.
Well, it's nothing
Exactly.
motivates you like a deadline.
Yeah,
exactly.
It's true.
There you go.
Well,
And this is what you call a hard deadline because we can't ask
I
these
have to
folks
cut
move
this
it.
conversation off because I'm the one who complains that everybody goes over an hour. And we're now at an hour and 15 minutes. So
Speaking of
you,
deadlines.
shut off the mics. They're unplugged now. So the rest of you, thank you for coming. This is the highlight of my weekend here. I do a lot of work here to get all this AV stuff set up and everything, but this is the reason I do it, is for this community right here. This is actually the most important thing to me. So thank you for being here and supporting these people that did something amazing. I think we forget how hard understanding computers and software and code, physics, geometry, art, math, everything all into one. And as you heard, not one person can do it by themselves. So it takes a community, except Lynn. Lynn doesn't count, though.
No, Lynn does
I'm
everything.
the enigma
Lynn's
here.
a wizard,
Yes.
okay? Lynn doesn't
wizard.
count.
Jules Verne of pinball.
So thank you for coming here and helping me support these people and encouraging new people that will have pins for us here next year.
Yes.
You've been committed.
You said it.
Just the
It's
way
gonna
that
happen.
these two got roped into it by me years before. So come take a seat up here. Come talk about what you've learned. Come be part of this great community with me. And maybe someday Lynn and I will build a pinball machine together when I get some time in my life.